Welcome, chosen ones, to this transformative journey. If you've ever felt like you're waiting for something bigger to happen in your life, then you're exactly where you need to be. In today's video, we're diving deep into divine timing, spiritual breakthroughs, and the incredible transformation that awaits you. The universe has aligned this moment for you right now, and everything you've been praying for is closer than you think. So, if you're ready to step into your divine purpose, to unlock the mysteries of your true potential, then make sure you stay with us through the entire video. It's not by accident that you're here. God's plan for your life is unfolding now, and you're about to witness miracles. If you've felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness over the past few months, if you've experienced people distancing themselves from you, and if you've found yourself at the edge of despair, I need you to understand something. This wasn't a coincidence. This isolation was not an accident, and it was not punishment. It was part of a divine strategy, designed specifically for you. There is a higher purpose behind the abandonment you felt, a purpose that was orchestrated by God Himself. You might not have seen it at first. In fact, when people who were once close to you began pulling away, when friends who used to answer your calls now left you on read, or family members who used to offer help without being asked suddenly became too busy, it may have felt like rejection, and that hurt, didn't it? You wondered, what did I do wrong? Why does it feel like no one cares anymore? It felt like being abandoned in your most desperate moments, as though you were fighting your battles alone, and the people who should have had your back were nowhere to be found. But here's what you didn't know then, and what you may not fully realize even now. God Himself orchestrated this isolation. He removed the distractions and the people who would have interfered with what He was preparing you to do. This isolation wasn't a punishment. It was a divine setup for the extraordinary calling on your life. God knew that what He was about to prepare you for couldn't be accomplished with the comfort of support and safety nets. He knew that you needed to discover the strength that resides within you, a strength that could only be unearthed in the silence of solitude. God's plan for you required a level of internal fortitude, a spiritual resilience that could only be developed through absolute isolation. The kind of strength that would shape you into the person you are destined to become can only be forged in the fire of solitude. And this was His strategy all along. It wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to build you. What God knew, and what you would soon realize, is that this period of being completely alone was necessary for you to tap into a power and a will that were always within you, but hidden beneath layers of comfort, external validation, and reliance on others. There were moments, weren't there, when you wondered if you were truly alone, or if this isolation was meant to be permanent? That's the moment when God was watching, from higher dimensions, overseeing your growth, knowing that you were in the process of being prepared for a battle that would require you to rise on your own. You were becoming the person you needed to be, without help from anyone, and that was by design. God knew you could do this. He knew you were capable of walking through the storm, without anyone to hold your hand or catch you when you fell. He knew that the fight ahead of you, one that would seem impossible to most, would be the very challenge that would reveal to you just how strong, resilient, and capable you are. In your deepest moments of despair, when you thought the world had forgotten you, God was building you. He was giving you everything you needed to face what was coming. But what was it about this divine strategy that set you apart from others? Why were you placed in this position, while others seemed to have the support and safety nets they needed? The answer lies in the strength that God was forging in you, the character He was shaping, and the lessons He was teaching you in the silence. You were never meant to depend on human support alone. God knew that your purpose was so great, so divine, that you would need to be empowered from within. Your source of strength, wisdom, and resilience was always meant to be rooted in Him, not in the fleeting comfort of external relationships or support systems. And here's the most powerful part. God wasn't watching from a distance. He wasn't abandoning you. He was actively building you up, teaching you how to rely on Him, and revealing the incredible capacity you have for strength, endurance, and purpose. This isolation, this seeming abandonment was God's way of preparing you for the life-changing battles ahead. He had to pull you away from the distractions, the toxic relationships, the people who would have held you back, so that you could fully align with your divine purpose. What may have seemed like loneliness and abandonment was actually a strategic move in the spiritual realm, one that would propel you forward in ways that you couldn't even begin to understand at the time. In your isolation, God was working out the plan He had for you, and He was always with you. The process was painful, yes, and it was filled with moments of deep sorrow and frustration. But in those moments of solitude, God was with you, molding you into the warrior you are destined to be. Do you see it now? What seemed like the worst chapter in your life was actually the greatest blessing. It was a time of spiritual forging, a time when you discovered just how capable you are, how resilient you are, and how deeply you can rely on God to carry you through anything. The isolation wasn't a mistake. It was part of a divine strategy, and it was in this time alone that you discovered the very power and strength that will carry you through every future battle. In the quiet, when you had nothing but yourself and God, you discovered your true potential. You found your voice, you found your strength, and most importantly, you found your purpose. And what you don't yet realize is that this divine isolation, this time of silence and solitude, was the very thing that was preparing you for greatness. Now that you've begun to see the divine strategy in your isolation, I want you to understand something powerful. The isolation you felt wasn't about punishment or about pushing you to the sidelines. It was about preparation. God, in His infinite wisdom, withdrew the distractions and removed the comforts so that you could truly discover the strength, resilience, and potential He placed within you. This solitude was the most strategic path for you to grow into the powerful person you are destined to become. It was God's way of creating space for the deepest part of you to be revealed, the part of you that could withstand any challenge, the part of you that would carry out His purpose on this earth. There were days when you couldn't understand why you were left alone, when you couldn't fathom why the people who once stood by you had suddenly drifted away. It felt like abandonment, like being cast aside when you needed support the most. But in those very moments, when you felt alone and vulnerable, God was closest to you, working in ways you couldn't see at the time. He was shaping you for your next season, preparing you for what was to come, and giving you the inner strength to face the battles ahead. Have you ever wondered why God sometimes allows us to face things alone? Why He withdraws the support of friends, family, or even mentors when we feel like we need them the most? The answer lies in His perfect design for our lives. God knew that if you had stayed surrounded by comfort and external support, you would never have discovered the deep well of strength inside of you. You would have relied on others, and you would have missed the chance to tap into the spiritual power that was quietly waiting to emerge from within you. God, in His infinite love, allowed you to be tested and refined in solitude because He knew that only in isolation could you become the person you needed to be. God knew that this was the only way you could truly align with your divine purpose, by finding your strength in Him and learning to walk confidently in His calling, even when the world seemed to abandon you. This isolation, painful as it was the crucible in which your character was forged. It was the training ground where you were taught to rely solely on God's provision, God's wisdom, and God's timing. And now, you stand stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the challenges ahead, because God used this time to equip you with the inner resources you needed to succeed. This divine strategy was always about strengthening you spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. You may not have understood the depth of what was happening at the time, but now you can see that each challenge, each moment of isolation, and each trial was actually an investment in your future. As you emerged from that period of solitude, you began to realize that you weren't just surviving, you were thriving, and you were doing so with an inner strength that came from God alone. What's even more powerful is that this divine isolation allowed you to connect with God in ways you never could have otherwise. When everything else was stripped away, when you had no one to turn to but Him, You learned what it meant to truly depend on God's voice, God's guidance, and God's strength. You learned to hear His whispers in the silence, and you began to trust in His plan for you, even when it didn't make sense. That connection with God during the quietest, most difficult moments was the foundation of your growth. You were being prepared for something greater than what you had imagined, and now you can see that this period of isolation wasn't a punishment, it was a blessing in disguise. God knew that what was coming would require every ounce of the strength you developed during that time alone. He knew that you needed to be spiritually grounded, emotionally resilient, and mentally focused on the bigger picture. He needed you to know who you are in Him, to see your true potential, and to step into the role He created for you with confidence. As you reflect on this divine strategy, think about the lessons you learned during those isolated moments. You discovered that God's presence in your life was enough, that you were never truly alone. In those moments when you had nothing and no one to rely on, God showed up in ways that changed you. He showed you that your identity was never tied to external approval or support. Your worth has always been rooted in Him, and now you stand in that truth. You have been shaped into someone unshakable, someone who knows that God's plan for your life is more powerful than any external circumstance. There will be times when you look back on the period of isolation and remember the pain, the loneliness, and the feeling of abandonment. But as you do, I want you to also remember this truth. God was with you the entire time. He was always there. Even when you couldn't feel His presence. Even when you felt like you were walking through the darkest moments of your life. He was preparing you to step into your destiny. He was making you strong for the battles ahead, and the strength you have now is a reflection of His love, His provision, and His faithfulness. As you move forward, understand this. You have been set apart for something greater. This isolation wasn't random. It wasn't meant to break you. It was part of the divine plan to help you discover your true potential. The next chapter of your life, the one where you step into your divine purpose and calling, will be one of unprecedented growth and victory. And the strength you've developed through your time of solitude will be the very thing that carries you through the challenges ahead. The divine strategy behind your isolation was not just a time of waiting, it was a time of preparation. You were being shaped into the person who would rise above every obstacle, who would walk into their calling with confidence and grace. God knew that this was necessary. He knew that the battles ahead would require someone with the internal strength that only solitude could develop. And now, you stand ready. There comes a moment in every person's journey, especially for those chosen for something greater, when they are forced to face the depth of their own solitude. It's the kind of solitude that stretches beyond just being alone physically. It's the moment when you feel like no one else can understand what you're going through, when even those you once leaned on have distanced themselves. And in that moment, you are left standing alone, confronted with yourself and the path that lies ahead. At first, this moment feels like despair. It may feel like the world has abandoned you. Those who were once close to you, the ones you trusted and believed would always be there, seem to have disappeared. Maybe it felt like betrayal or just an inevitable separation, but it was God's hand at work. You were never truly abandoned. In the silence of your isolation, God was preparing you for a moment of awakening, a moment when you would realize just how strong and capable you truly are. In the early stages of this true solitude, it may have felt like a crushing weight. You didn't know if you could keep moving forward, if you had the strength to rise each day and face the challenges ahead. But this was the divine moment, the moment when you could no longer rely on the comfort of external support. There was no one left to help you, no one to carry the weight with you. It was just you, your dreams, and the relentless voice of doubt telling you that you couldn't do it alone. And it was in this moment of deepest vulnerability, the moment when you thought you might crumble, that something incredible began to happen. You made a choice. You made a choice to rise, to stand back up, and to continue the journey. Not because you had a clear plan, but because you had something deeper, something stronger: determination. In that moment, you realized that you were no longer waiting for someone else to rescue you. You understood that your destiny wasn't dependent on others. It was in your hands, and even though it felt terrifying, you chose to take it. This was the moment of your awakening. In the silence, in the solitude, you began to hear God's voice more clearly than ever before. At first, it might have seemed like noise, like confusion, but slowly, you started to realize that the voice of God was the only one that truly mattered. You began to hear His calling, His purpose, and you realized that the very things that once held you back, fear, doubt, insecurity, could no longer hold power over you. God had already equipped you for this moment. You see, the solitude you experienced wasn't just about being alone. It was about learning to trust in God's sufficiency. It was a deep, internal awakening to the truth that you are never truly alone when God is with you. The pain, the confusion, and the isolation were all part of God's plan to wake something up inside you, a strength, a resolve, and a dependence on God that would serve as the foundation for your future success. The shift in your spirit came when you reached the point of realizing that nobody was coming to save you, and that was okay. In fact, it was necessary. God wanted you to discover that the strength you needed had always been inside you, hidden beneath the layers of doubt and fear that once ruled your life. You didn't need anyone else to give you permission or support. You simply needed to trust that God had already provided what you needed to keep going. Romans 8:31 says, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" This is where your awakening begins. The battle has never been about external circumstances or people. It's always been about God's presence and power within you. The moment you realized that you didn't need anyone else to validate you, you began to understand the true depth of your worth, your calling, and your purpose. This was the awakening that had to happen in your heart before anything in your life could change. God had been patiently waiting for you to see it, to recognize that you were never powerless, but always empowered by Him. And in this moment of awakening, there was something else that shifted your attitude towards the future. The fear that once held you back started to lose its grip. The insecurities that had once paralyzed you were being replaced with a determination to move forward. You might not have known exactly where you were headed, but you knew that you couldn't stay stuck any longer. You had to take action, even if that action was simply putting one foot in front of the other each day. The decision to move forward, no matter how small the steps, was a victory in itself. Each day you chose to rise, to continue. You were building a new foundation. But what made this awakening even more powerful was that you didn't rise alone. You may have felt isolated, but in truth, God was with you the whole time. He was quietly walking beside you, strengthening you with each step you took. And in this solitude, you found an intimacy with God that you never had before. It was a relationship built on trust that He was guiding you, even when it felt like you couldn't see the way forward. And with that trust, you gained the courage to step into your divine purpose, to embrace the challenges ahead with a heart full of faith. As you reflect on the depth of this awakening, it's important to recognize just how far you've come. The solitude that once felt suffocating has now become the very thing that has propelled you forward. God's plan was unfolding through your most vulnerable moments, shaping you into someone who no longer relies on the approval of others, but stands firm in God's approval. This realization is not just a turning point. It is the foundation of your future victories, the very moment you were prepared to step into your divine calling. You may have had moments when you doubted yourself, when you felt overwhelmed by the weight of your journey. But now you see it clearly. This was God's way of preparing you for what's next. The awakening you've experienced isn't just a spiritual revelation, it's a life-changing moment that has set you on a path of divine purpose. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, you began to realize something remarkable. The solitude you once feared had become your greatest strength. The deeper you moved into your awakening, the more you realized that this was not a season of abandonment, but a season of divine preparation. The isolation, once filled with loneliness and doubt, had become the crucible where your character was being refined, where your faith was being tested, and where your true potential was beginning to shine through. In the moments when you felt most vulnerable, most alone, you were unknowingly being prepared for greatness. God wasn't simply waiting for you to get through it. No, He was actively molding you. Each day you chose to rise and take one step forward, even when you couldn't see the end, was a powerful declaration of your faith. You weren't waiting for things to get better. You were actively choosing to grow, to evolve, and to trust in God's plan even when it seemed unclear. And in this process, something beautiful began to emerge. A deeper connection with God. It was in the quiet, in the times when you had no one else to rely on, that you found a more intimate relationship with your Creator. It's often in the moments when we feel the most alone that we discover how close God truly is. He was there with you in every moment of silence, in every cry for help, and in every whisper of doubt. He never left your side. In your isolation, you learned to hear God's voice more clearly than ever before. He was guiding you through the darkness of your doubts, leading you with a light that shone brightest when you had nothing else to cling to. You began to hear His encouragement when you needed it most. His strength became your strength. His peace became your peace, and His purpose became your purpose. This was not just a time of waiting, it was a time of preparation for everything God has been leading you toward. There were moments when the weight of the journey felt overwhelming. You questioned whether you were truly equipped for the road ahead, whether you had the strength to go any further. But even in those moments of questioning, you realized that your faith was growing deeper. You were no longer waiting for the circumstances around you to change. You were learning to rely on the power that was already within you, a power that came not from your own strength, but from the unshakable foundation of God's love and grace. This season of solitude, though painful at times, has been the very thing that has prepared you to step into your divine purpose with unshakable confidence. You've learned that your worth isn't tied to the opinions of others or the comfort of external validation. Your worth comes from God alone, and in this isolation, you've had the chance to fully understand that truth. No longer do you need the approval of those around you to move forward. You have been transformed by God's presence into someone who is equipped to carry out the plans He has for you. The day you made the decision to rise, to keep moving forward despite your doubts, was the day you shifted from surviving to thriving. This was your awakening. The moment you realized that you had the power to overcome not because of anything external, but because of the resilience God had placed in you. Each small step forward was a victory. Each choice to keep going was a declaration of your strength, your faith, and your purpose. And here's the most beautiful part. You didn't do it alone. Yes, you were isolated from the world. And yes, there were moments when you felt like no one was there to help. But God was always present, in ways both subtle and profound. His guidance came in the form of quiet peace, in moments of prayer, and in the quiet stirring of your heart. God was always shaping you, even when you didn't realize it. He was preparing you for the battles ahead, the challenges you would face, and the role you were destined to play in His divine plan. With each victory, no matter how small, you began to feel the weight of God's purpose in your life becoming clearer. It wasn't just about surviving, it was about becoming the person God intended you to be. You were beginning to see the strength you never knew you had, the wisdom that God had been instilling in you all along. And as your understanding of this deepened, so did your clarity. You began to see where your life was headed, and though the path was not always clear, you knew it was leading to something great. This realization that you were never truly alone, that God had been with you through every moment of despair and every step toward victory has set you on a path toward unstoppable growth. The person you were before this season of solitude is not the person you are now. You are transformed, and this transformation has not been easy, but it has been necessary. God's purpose for your life required this period of growth, and now you are ready to step into the fullness of what He has for you. As you look ahead, you will see that the challenges you once feared are now just part of the journey. The doubts that once filled your heart have been replaced with the unshakable confidence that God is with you. No longer do you need to wait for others to come and rescue you. You are the one who has been equipped to move forward, with the strength and wisdom that God has instilled in you. The journey ahead will not always be easy, but it will always be filled with purpose, because you have been prepared for this moment. You are ready for whatever comes next. As you move forward in your journey, you begin to realize that the most significant battles you fought were not the ones that everyone saw, nor the ones that garnered any applause. The silent, unseen battles you fought in the privacy of your own heart and mind were the battles that truly shaped you into the person you are today. These battles were fought when there was no audience, no support, and no external validation. They were fought in the depths of your soul, where only God could see your struggles, your victories, and the raw, unfiltered parts of your character. These battles didn't have the dramatic moments or grand victories that the world would recognize. There were no trophies or public accolades, but it was in these quiet moments that your true strength was developed. When no one was looking, when you were left alone to wrestle with your thoughts, fears, and doubts, you were being transformed from the inside out. It was during these times that you were learning to rely on God's presence alone, to trust in His guidance, and to build the spiritual and emotional resilience that would carry you through everything to come. Perhaps the hardest part of these silent battles was the feeling of isolation. You were fighting a war that no one knew about, and sometimes it felt like no one cared. On the outside, everything might have looked calm. People may have assumed that you were fine, that you were handling things well, that you had everything under control. But in reality, you were fighting for your very spirit. There were moments when you doubted yourself, when you questioned your worth, when you felt like giving up would be so much easier than continuing. But every time you chose to stand, every time you resisted the temptation to shrink back, every time you chose to trust God instead of your own fears, you were winning the battle. The silent battles are often the hardest, because there are no external markers of progress. No one can see the tears you shed, the frustrations you felt, or the moments when you wanted to quit. The world couldn't hear the cries of your heart, nor did they see the weight of the decisions you made when you were alone. But God saw it all. He witnessed every struggle, and He walked with you through the darkness, guiding you and strengthening you in ways that were invisible to everyone else. What made these battles so significant is that they shaped your character. The victories you achieved in private, when no one was around to cheer you on, were the victories that transformed you from the inside. It was here, in the quiet of your heart, where you learned to trust God in ways that were not dependent on external circumstances. You weren't relying on the validation of others to fuel your next step. You were learning to walk by faith alone, to trust that God's plan was unfolding even when you couldn't see it clearly. These private battles were often against your own fears and doubts. The enemy's most powerful weapon is not always external, it's the lies he whispers into your soul. And in those moments, when no one was watching, you were forced to choose between believing those lies or believing what God had spoken over your life. It was in these battles of the mind and heart that you were being equipped for everything that was to come. When you chose to hold on to God's truth, even when it felt like everything around you was falling apart, you were building a foundation that could not be shaken. There were days when you felt completely drained, when the weight of everything you were carrying seemed unbearable, but you kept going. You might not have felt strong on the inside, but you were still standing. You didn't know how you were going to get through the next moment, but you made it through. Each step forward, no matter how small, was a victory. And every step you took was part of God's divine preparation for the greater challenges and purposes that lay ahead. This time of unseen struggles was essential for your growth. God knew that the strength you would need in the next season couldn't come from the applause of others. It had to come from within, from the deep well of faith and trust that He was developing in you. The silent battles were His way of training you to rely on Him and not on others, to trust His provision and lean into His strength. These moments may have felt like isolation, but in reality, they were the very moments where God was closest to you. You might have wondered during those lonely nights, why is this happening? Why does it feel like I'm fighting alone? And the truth is, God was preparing you for something much greater. He was teaching you how to stand strong, even when there was no one else to stand with you. He was showing you how to fight with your faith, how to trust His promises, and how to hold on when everything seemed uncertain. These unseen battles were strengthening your spirit and preparing you for the role God had set aside for you. Think about it, the world only sees the external victories, the moments when you shine, when the doors open, when the blessings pour in. But what the world doesn't see are the quiet, unseen victories, the times when you chose to stand in faith, when you chose to forgive, when you chose to keep going even when no one was watching. Those are the battles that truly shape a person's character. Those are the moments when God is doing His deepest work in you. This chapter of your life, the silent, unseen battles, is not a period of weakness. It is a season of growth and spiritual training. You've come through it stronger, more resilient, and more rooted in God's truth. These battles have equipped you for the challenges ahead. And now, as you move forward, you carry the strength, wisdom, and faith that will allow you to thrive in any circumstance. As you continue moving forward in your journey, you begin to realize the profound impact of the silent, unseen battles you fought. These moments, often hidden from the eyes of the world, are the very moments that shaped your resilience and fortified your spirit. The battles you fought in the quietness of your own heart, when no one could see your struggle, are what have truly made you unshakable. You may not have been aware of it at the time, but in each of those moments, God was strengthening you, preparing you for the incredible purpose He had in store for your life. What makes these silent battles so significant is the fact that they were fought without the support of others. No one clapped for you, no one cheered you on, and no one celebrated your victories in the way they might have celebrated external achievements. But God saw every step, every decision to keep going, every choice to trust in His promises, even when it felt like all hope was lost. These quiet victories were the ones that mattered most. In these unseen moments, you learned to fight with the weapons God had given you: faith, prayer, perseverance, and the knowledge that He would never leave you. You didn't need the world's validation or applause, because you had something more powerful: God's presence and strength within you. And it was in the quiet moments of solitude, when you felt at your lowest, that you truly discovered your own inner power, the power that came from aligning your will with God's purpose for your life. These battles were never meant to break you, they were meant to refine you. You had to face the darkness, the doubt, the frustration, and the fear in order to become the person you are today. Every tear you shed, every moment of frustration when you wanted to give up, became the building blocks of your strength. What the world didn't see, the struggles, the late-night prayers, the battles fought in your mind and spirit, were the very things that prepared you for the victory that's coming. It was during these silent battles that you discovered who you truly are: a warrior of faith, a person with the strength to endure, to rise above, and to keep moving forward no matter the cost. You may have felt alone at times, but God was always by your side, carrying you through the darkest moments. He never let you fall because He was teaching you something vital: that your strength comes from Him, not from the support of the world or the validation of others. In fact, He allowed you to fight alone so that you could come to understand that you are never alone when He is by your side. These silent battles also forged your character. They forced you to confront your fears, your weaknesses, and your doubts, and instead of being overwhelmed, you learned to rise above them. The choices you made in those moments, choosing faith over fear, peace over anxiety, trust over doubt, were the decisions that shaped your identity. You became someone who didn't crumble under pressure, but someone who was refined by it. You became someone who learned to persevere with grace, someone who could walk into any situation with the assurance that God's strength was sufficient. Now, as you stand on the other side of these battles, it's important to recognize that these victories, though unseen by the world, have equipped you for the next phase of your journey. The challenges you face from here on out will be met with a new confidence, because you know that the strength you developed in the silence is more than enough to carry you through. The hard-won wisdom, the inner peace you found in the midst of struggle, and the faith that was forged through the fire, these are the tools that will guide you into the next chapter. But even as you begin to move forward, don't forget what you learned in the quiet places. The silent battles shaped your understanding of what truly matters. They taught you to value your relationship with God more than any external validation, to trust in His timing more than in your own plans, and to rely on His strength more than on the approval of others. These lessons will continue to serve you, not just in the victories to come, but in the moments when you face new challenges. In this new season, the external battles will come, those moments when the world will try to test you, when people will try to bring you down, and when circumstances will seem to conspire against you. But you will face them differently now. You will face them with confidence, knowing that you have already overcome the hardest battles, the ones fought in silence and in solitude. You will face them with the peace that comes from knowing that God is with you. You are equipped, you are strong, and you are ready. The battles you fought in silence were not just struggles, they were divine preparations. God used those hidden moments to build a foundation in you that cannot be shaken. You have learned the value of steadfastness, faith, and trust in God's plan. And because of this, you will continue to rise, not because the road is easy, but because you are unshakable. You know that with every challenge you face, God is refining you, molding you into the person He created you to be. As you move forward, remember this: the greatest battles often take place when no one is watching. The silent struggles, the quiet decisions, the moments when you chose to keep moving despite feeling overwhelmed, these are the things that shaped you, and these are the things that will continue to fuel your journey. Every battle you fought alone was a victory that you earned, and those victories will continue to propel you into the destiny God has set before you. As you stand at the edge of your breakthrough, there's a profound realization that begins to settle within your spirit. You have crossed the threshold into something that even heaven recognizes as extraordinary. Your journey, your growth, and your perseverance haven't just been about you and the challenges you faced. They've been watched and honored by something far greater. What you may not have realized during the seasons of isolation and struggle is that God has been with you every step of the way, preparing you for a level of recognition and favor that surpasses even your own understanding. You see, what you thought was a season of loneliness and abandonment was actually a divine setup. You've endured, you've fought, you've triumphed in silence, and now, as you reach this pinnacle, something far greater than you could have imagined is unfolding before you. The recognition you've received is not just from those around you, it's from the very throne of God. Heaven itself has taken notice of your relentless pursuit, your unwavering faith, and your refusal to give up. And as God has watched you walk this path, He has called a heavenly council to witness your victory. This moment of divine recognition is not a fluke. It's not by chance that you've reached this point in your life. God has been orchestrating this moment from the very beginning. Every step you took in faith, every decision to keep going when it felt like the world was against you, has been part of a greater plan that was written before you were even born. You were chosen for this path. And as you look back on everything you've overcome, you begin to see that it was never about your own ability to endure. It was about God's presence and His power working through you to accomplish His purpose. In the celestial realms, there has been a holy and sacred recognition of your strength. When you felt the weight of the world pressing down on you, when you were walking through the hardest moments of your life alone, God was watching. And now, as your moment of victory unfolds, heaven is acknowledging the extraordinary perseverance that you have shown. This is not just recognition from those who doubted you, it is divine acknowledgement from God Himself, and it carries with it a weight that cannot be ignored. This divine recognition is significant because it's not only about the battle you fought on earth, it's about how you fought it in the unseen realms. There were countless times when you could have taken the easy route, given in to your fears, or succumbed to the pressure of your circumstances. But instead, you stood firm, trusting in God's timing, holding fast to His promises, and moving forward in faith, even when the outcome seemed uncertain. Heaven has witnessed all of this, and it has moved the heart of God in ways you may not fully understand yet. The moment you began to truly realize that your life wasn't defined by what others thought of you, or even by the success you achieved, was the moment that divine favor began to pour into your life in unimaginable ways. You didn't just persevere for yourself, you persevered for the glory of God, and God is now pouring His blessings on you, not only as a reward but as a testament to His faithfulness and His sovereignty over your life. Every battle you fought in solitude has led to this moment when heaven itself declares, "Well done, good and faithful servant." You didn't just get through the storm, you emerged from it victorious, and now the world and heaven are both bearing witness. This divine surprise is something that will continue to unfold. The recognition you're receiving isn't just a one-time event. It is the beginning of a shift that will impact your entire future. The heavens are not just applauding your perseverance, they are celebrating the victory of God's plan unfolding through your life. The spiritual forces that have been assigned to you are now moving in greater force to ensure that God's purposes are fulfilled through your life. The favor you've gained is not for your own glory. It is a blessing that will ripple out into the lives of those around you. What you are about to experience is more than just external success or visible achievements. This recognition is a heavenly decree, a declaration that you have entered a new realm of purpose, where God's will for your life is aligned with His divine favor. The celestial beings who have watched your growth and perseverance are now sending forth divine resources to support you. You are being positioned for something greater than you ever imagined, and as you receive this recognition, you also receive the spiritual power to fulfill the calling on your life in ways that were once beyond your reach. You may not fully grasp the magnitude of this moment, but God has been setting this up for a long time. What you thought was just your own hard work, just your own ability to persevere, was always part of a larger divine plan. Now, as you walk into this new season of blessing, you will realize that the victories you've experienced aren't just a result of your own strength. They are a testament to the faithfulness of God to His promises. The recognition is God's way of showing you that He has been with you every step of the way. There is also a deeper layer of recognition at play here. God is not just rewarding you for your past efforts, He is equipping you for the future. As you step into this divine season of elevation, you will find that new doors are opening, new opportunities are coming, and new relationships are forming, all because God is aligning your life with His greater purposes. This is not just the end of your struggle. It is the beginning of something far greater than you could have dreamed. As the divine recognition continues to unfold in your life, you begin to see more clearly the incredible truth of this moment. What God has orchestrated in your life goes far beyond your understanding. You may have thought your journey was just about overcoming obstacles, proving your worth, or reaching some destination. But now, in this new season of divine favor and recognition, you realize that God has been setting you up for something far greater than you could have ever imagined. What's more astonishing is that God is not just surprised by your ability to persevere, but He is showing you that your faithfulness has been the key to unlocking a whole new realm of possibilities. The celestial beings, the angelic hosts, and the heavenly realms have all witnessed the depth of your character and the strength of your spirit. They have seen you move through the darkness, and in the process, you've earned a divine place of honor. This recognition, though it may feel surprising to you, is a natural result of the choices you made in the quiet, unseen moments. God's response to your perseverance, your dedication, and your unwavering trust in Him is not just a reward for the past, it is an activation for what lies ahead. The doors that are opening before you are part of a divine plan that has been in motion for far longer than you realize. God's purpose for your life has always been destined for greatness. And this season of recognition is the beginning of an even greater elevation. God knew you were capable of this journey long before you ever did, and now He is positioning you to walk into the fullness of your purpose. This is not a moment of arrival, it's the start of a new chapter where He will continue to reveal His plans for you. One of the most powerful aspects of this recognition is that it comes with divine reinforcement. As you step into this new season of favor and elevation, God is not only acknowledging your past efforts, but is also providing you with new tools, new resources, and new allies to carry out the mission He has for you. The divine army, spiritual warriors, intercessors, and supporters are now being called to fight alongside you. What you once struggled with alone, you will now have the strength of God's heavenly forces to support you. The battles ahead won't feel as overwhelming because God has surrounded you with protection, wisdom, and strength. This divine recognition also marks the end of isolation. The time of being alone, of fighting your battles in the quiet, has come to a close. But it's not because you've failed to learn the lessons of solitude, it's because you've now grown into the person God has always meant you to be. You have been tested, refined, and molded in the fires of isolation. And now you are being placed in a new position of influence. The public recognition of your hard work, faith, and growth is about to unfold in ways that you never expected. Those who once doubted you, who once abandoned you, will soon realize that God's favor was on you all along. The transition from silent perseverance to public recognition is not just about people noticing your success. It's about the kingdom of God being revealed through your life. This is about God showing His glory, not just through your individual achievements, but through the way you've responded to His calling, how you've trusted Him, and how you've persevered when everything seemed to fall apart. Your story is now a testimony to the world of God's faithfulness and power. As you move forward, know that this divine recognition is just the beginning. The opportunities that you've been praying for are now starting to take shape. The doors that seemed shut for so long will suddenly swing wide open. But there is one important thing to remember. This is not about you. This is about fulfilling God's purpose. The recognition, the elevation, and the doors opening are all part of a larger story, one that is centered on God's glory and His plan to use you to impact the world around you. The battles you faced, the moments when you thought you couldn't keep going, and the moments when you felt unseen and unheard, those moments were the testing ground for the victories ahead. Now that God has recognized your perseverance, now that the divine realm has witnessed your faithfulness, you are being elevated to a new level of responsibility, influence, and purpose. You will be entrusted with more, but you will also need to be faithful with what God gives you. The key to navigating this new level is remaining grounded in humility and obedience to God's will. The divine surprise and recognition are not just external accolades. They are a spiritual alignment, a shift in the spiritual realm that marks your life for greater purpose and service to God's kingdom. God is preparing you to lead, to be a beacon of light to those who need hope, direction, and love. This is not just a moment to celebrate, it is a calling to action, a calling to step into your divine purpose with even more determination, faith, and courage than before. This is your season of activation. God has recognized your growth, your strength, and your willingness to fight the unseen battles. Now, He is empowering you to use your influence, your voice, and your gifts to make a difference in the lives of others. The favor that you've received is meant to be shared, and as you move forward, you will see that every door that opens, every opportunity that comes your way, is God's divine hand at work, leading you to places where you can impact the lives of others. As you step into this new season of divine favor and recognition, the path ahead becomes even more clear. The rewards you've worked for, prayed for, and persevered through are finally within your grasp. But while this new chapter brings incredible blessings and opportunities, it also brings a new set of challenges, ones that require you to not only embrace your rewards, but to steward them with wisdom, responsibility, and faithfulness. This is the moment when your journey truly takes on a new significance, as you are tasked with using your success and influence for something much greater than yourself. God's favor has been poured out on you, and now, as you begin to walk in this new elevation, you must remember that with every reward comes a greater level of responsibility. The victories you've won in the past, those battles you fought in silence and solitude, have prepared you for what lies ahead. But the challenges ahead are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to refine you further, to build upon the strength you've already gained, and to test your character and resolve as you navigate this new season. The first reward you will experience is divine protection. God has promised that He will never leave you or forsake you, and in this new season, His protection is more powerful than ever. As you step into your divine purpose, there will be forces that try to oppose you, whether they come in the form of doubt, fear, or even attacks from those who feel threatened by your rise. But now, with the protection of God over your life, you are shielded from the schemes of the enemy. Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." God's hand is covering you, and nothing that is meant to harm you will succeed. But while divine protection will be evident, you'll also encounter new challenges that test your growth. These challenges will not be the same as the ones you've faced before. They will be new challenges, ones that come with the territory of stepping into greater influence, authority, and responsibility. God is leading you into new levels of purpose, and as you walk forward, there will be moments when you must make difficult decisions. These decisions won't always be easy, and they won't always make sense in the natural. But remember, the wisdom you gained in the quiet moments of solitude is what will carry you through these challenges. One of the biggest tests you will face in this new season is choosing to expand rather than rest in the comfort of your past successes. It's easy to get complacent when you see the rewards of your hard work unfolding. But God is calling you to grow, to stretch, and to step into even greater levels of influence and impact. The temptation will be to settle, to rest on your laurels and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But God's plan for you is expansive, and you are meant to do more, to be more, and to give more than you ever thought possible. The challenge here is to keep moving forward. The moment you stop seeking God's guidance, the moment you stop pressing forward, is the moment you begin to fall behind. God's plan for you is always in motion. He is always leading you into something greater. The rewards He has for you are not meant to be stagnant. They are meant to propel you into new territories, to expand your influence, and to open doors that were once closed to you. Opportunities are coming, ones that you've prayed for, ones you've worked for. The fruits of your labor are finally manifesting. But here's the truth. They're just the beginning. God is opening doors that were once locked tight, and these opportunities will bring both reward and challenge. The blessing of opportunity comes with a new level of responsibility. You will be tasked with choosing wisely how to use the resources, influence, and gifts that God is now entrusting to you. In this season, you will meet other high-level spiritual warriors, people who recognize the strength and potential that you carry. These relationships will be crucial to your next steps. You will be surrounded by people who share your vision, who understand the spiritual battles you've fought, and who will walk beside you as you continue to fulfill your calling. These allies are not just friends or mentors, they are divine connections, placed in your life to help you navigate the new challenges ahead, and to help you accomplish the work God has prepared for you. However, with all these rewards comes a test of your integrity. You've been entrusted with much, but the way you handle what's given to you will determine the course of your future. You may be given opportunities, wealth, and recognition, but God will be watching to see how you steward those gifts. Luke 12:48 tells us, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded." It is not the rewards themselves that will define you, it's how you use them. Will you expand for God's glory, or will you rest in the comfort of your success? Will you serve others and continue to grow, or will you become complacent, thinking that you've reached the pinnacle? The true test in this new season is not just about how much you achieve, but about how much you are willing to give back. The success you experience is not solely for you, it's meant to be used for God's kingdom. God has blessed you with influence and favor so that you can make a difference in the lives of others. These blessings are meant to be shared, to be used to uplift those around you and to expand God's work in the world. The more you give, the more God will continue to bless and multiply your efforts. Your integrity will be the measure by which you expand. Will you use your success to serve, to help others rise, and to glorify God? Or will you take the blessings and settle into comfort, avoiding the challenges that growth requires? The decision is yours, but remember that every choice you make now will set the stage for the next season of your life. As you step into this new chapter, remember that with every reward comes a new challenge, but also with every challenge comes the opportunity for exponential growth. God's plans for you are far greater than you realize, and the rewards you are about to receive will serve as a foundation for even greater things. Your future is bright, and as long as you continue to trust God and steward what He gives you, there will be no limit to what He can accomplish through your life. As you step forward into the rewards that have been so faithfully promised to you, the landscape before you becomes both beautiful and daunting. The blessings that have long been hidden are now being revealed, but with these blessings come greater responsibilities. This next phase in your journey is not simply about reaping what you've sown, but about using the gifts, the influence, and the opportunities that God has granted you to make a lasting impact. It is a season of unparalleled rewards, but it is also a season that will require you to dig even deeper, to step out in courage and faith like never before. The rewards you are about to experience are vast, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. They are the fruit of years of perseverance, of pushing through challenges that no one saw, and of staying true to your calling even when it was difficult to see the road ahead. God's promises are being fulfilled, and as you stand in the blessing of these promises, you will experience a profound sense of peace and joy knowing that you've done the hard work. But this peace does not mean you are done. It's only the beginning of the next chapter where you must step into your full responsibility for both your personal success and the lives of others that will be impacted by your choices. The first challenge you will face is maintaining your integrity as you navigate the rewards that are pouring into your life. When the world begins to recognize your success, the temptation to compromise your values for convenience or to gain more approval will be strong. You will be offered opportunities that seem too good to pass up, but remember, not every door is meant to be opened, and not every opportunity is aligned with God's perfect plan for your life. The true test will be your faithfulness to what God has already revealed to you, even when new opportunities may seem like they promise instant success. God's guidance is crucial in this phase. Every decision you make now will either reinforce your purpose or distract you from it. Staying aligned with God's will, seeking His wisdom in prayer, and continuing to walk in His love and integrity will ensure that the rewards you receive are used for His glory and for the greater good of those around you. The second challenge you will face is remaining humble and grounded. It is easy to become consumed by success, to let the applause of others and the recognition you receive distract you from your true calling. But as the doors open and the praise and recognition begin to pour in, remember that humility is key. In James 4:10, it says, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and He will lift you up." God is the one who elevates, and as He elevates you, remember that the greater your influence, the greater your responsibility to serve others. Your elevation isn't just for you, it's for His kingdom, to spread His love, to share His truth, and to impact the lives of others in ways that will bring them closer to Him. You've been chosen to lead, but leading with humility and a servant's heart is what will make your influence truly impactful. There will be many who will look to you for guidance, and it is your responsibility to use your platform, not for self-glorification, but for the advancement of God's purposes. Another challenge you will face is the fear of success. You've walked through seasons of failure, disappointment, and doubt, and now that success is here, there may be moments when you feel unworthy of the blessings you're receiving, or you might question if you're equipped for the next level. You may feel like you're not prepared for the weight of the success and influence that God has entrusted to you, or you might be afraid of losing it all, but I want you to understand this deeply. God has already prepared you for this. Every hardship, every setback, and every lonely moment of isolation was part of His training. You are ready. God does not elevate you to a place you're not prepared for. When you feel unsure of your abilities, remember that your success isn't about your own power, it's about God's faithfulness to His promises. He has equipped you for the task ahead, and He is with you every step of the way. Step into your new level of success with confidence, knowing that God's strength is sufficient for whatever challenges may arise. This is not the time to shrink back. This is the time to step into your divine purpose and walk boldly into the future God has prepared for you. There is also a challenge of isolation that will resurface. As you rise and gain more recognition, you will find that your circle will change. Some people may drift away, while others will try to reconnect for their own reasons. It will become apparent that not everyone who was once close to you is meant to continue walking with you in this new season. The relationships that once brought you comfort and security may begin to feel heavy, and you'll need to discern who should remain in your life and who should be released. In this season, God will surround you with new people who will walk with you in this new season of elevation. These new relationships will align with your divine purpose and help you move forward in ways that you couldn't have imagined before. The challenge will be knowing when to let go of relationships that no longer serve your growth and calling. This won't be easy, especially when it involves people you once trusted. But remember, God is always leading you to the people and places that will help you fulfill His purpose. As you let go of the past, you will make space for the divine connections and support that will help you continue to move forward. You will also face the challenge of staying true to your purpose amidst the noise of the world. There will be so many opportunities that seem aligned with your dreams, but they may not be aligned with God's plan for your life. This is where your relationship with God becomes even more important. God is calling you to remain focused on the purpose He has revealed to you, even when the world around you tries to pull you in different directions. Every opportunity that presents itself isn't always the right one. Seek God's wisdom in every decision and continue to trust that His plans for you are better than anything you could ever imagine. As you embrace the rewards ahead, I want you to keep in mind that the challenges you face now are preparing you for even greater things. God is not just rewarding you for your past efforts. He is positioning you for a future that will glorify Him in ways you never thought possible. Stay humble, stay grounded, and continue walking in faith, knowing that God is leading you every step of the way. Thank you so much for joining us on this divine journey today. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We want to keep spreading these life-changing insights to those who need it the most. Your support helps us reach more people, and together, we can create a wave of transformation that will ripple across the world. If you're ready to embrace the transformation that's unfolding in your life, let us know in the comments below. Remember, your breakthrough is coming, and we're here to walk with you every step of the way. Stay aligned, stay faith-filled, and see you in the next video.